Admiral Vextar stood on the bridge of his massive warship. His dark eyes looked at the screen showing 3 small human ships. The ships looked old and weak compared to his powerful fleet. "Sir, the alien ships are talking to us," said his officer, Zixara. "They say they are from something called Earth Defense Force. They want us to leave." Vextar laughed. He had fought many wars and won them all. His fleet had 37 huge ships. The humans only had 3 tiny ones. This would be easy. "How many people are on those ships?" he asked. "About 1,200 humans total, sir." Vextar smiled. He had 2 million soldiers. The numbers were not even close. These humans were going to lose badly. "Let me talk to their leader," he said. The screen showed a human man in a blue uniform. The man had brown hair and blue eyes. He looked calm, even though he was about to die. "I am Admiral Jake Morrison," the human said. "You are in our space. Leave now or we will make you leave." Vextar's officers started laughing. The human was making threats when he was so weak. "Human Morrison," Vextar said. "I am Admiral Vextar. You have 3 ships. I have 37. Your weapons are old. Mine are new. You should give up now, so we don't have to kill you." Morrison looked straight at him. "Admiral, I will tell you one more time. Turn around and go home. This is your last chance." "What if we say no?" Morrison leaned forward. "Then you will learn why the whole galaxy should fear humans." The screen went black. Vextar laughed even harder. His staff was also laughing. "Get ready to attack," Vextar said. "Hit their main ship first. Let's end this fast." But something strange happened. The human ships did not run away. They did not try to hide. Instead, they flew straight at the alien fleet. "Sir," said his tactical officer, "the humans are coming right at us. They are not stopping." "That's crazy," Vextar said. "No one attacks when they are so outnumbered." Then the lead human ship did something impossible. It broke apart into many pieces. Each piece was still a working ship with guns and engines. "Modular design," the officer said. "Each part can fight on its own." The human ship pieces spread out in all directions. Now there were many small targets instead of 3 big ones. Each piece was sending out signals to confuse the alien sensors. "Fire everything," Vextar ordered. His fleet shot thousands of energy beams and missiles. The space between the fleets lit up like fireworks, but the human pieces were small and fast. Only 2 got destroyed. Then the humans started shooting back. Their weapons were weaker than alien weapons, but they used them in strange ways. Instead of trying to destroy whole ships, they aimed at specific parts. They hit radar dishes, communication, arrays, and weapon systems. Commander Pete Jackson piloted one human piece right up to a big alien ship. He attached his small craft to the enemy hull. Then his team started cutting through the armor with power tools. "This is insane," said Sub-Admiral Kickstall. "They are trying to break into our ships with construction tools." But the humans kept coming. Captain Nick Barnes turned his engine exhaust into a weapon. He pointed the hot plasma directly at an alien ship's sensors. The simple trick worked, blinding the much bigger ship. In just a few minutes, the easy battle became chaos. The alien fleet could not use their big guns properly because the humans were too close. The small human ships flew between the alien vessels like angry bees. "Give me a report," Vextar demanded. 7 of our ships have major damage," Kickstall said. "The humans keep changing their tactics. Every time we figure out what they are doing, they do something different." On his screen, Vextar watched Lieutenant Colonel Amy Ross do something. That should have been impossible. Her small ship was spinning while shooting in multiple directions. Somehow she was still hitting her targets. "How can they aim while spinning like that?" Vextar asked. "We don't know, sir. Our computers cannot predict what they will do next. They don't fight like anyone else." That was the problem, Vextar realized. His empire had conquered many worlds. All those species fought in logical ways. They used cover when under attack. They retreated when outnumbered. They surrendered when they knew they would lose. Humans did not do any of these normal things. As the crazy battle continued, Vextar began to understand Admiral Morrison's confidence. These humans were not trying to win in any normal way. They were trying to hurt the alien fleet as much as possible, even if it meant dying. And it was working. The human ships kept attacking even when damaged. They kept fighting even when outnumbered. They used their own ships as weapons when their guns stopped working. Captain Tom Wilson rammed his damaged ship into an alien vessel's engine. The explosion damaged both ships, but Wilson's crew survived in escape pods. They immediately started shooting at the alien ship with hand weapons. "Sir," an officer reported, "the humans who just crashed are now outside our hull. They are trying to break in through the armor." Vextar stared at the tactical display. Red lights showed damage all across his fleet. What should have been a quick victory was turning into a nightmare. The humans fought like they were insane. They took risks that no sane commander would take. They used tactics that made no logical sense but somehow worked. "Status of the boarding attempts?" Vextar asked. "3 of our ships have been breached, sir. The humans are inside fighting our crews hand-to-hand." Vextar felt a chill. His soldiers were trained for space combat, not close-quarters fighting. The humans seemed to be experts at both. On the main screen, he watched as more human ship pieces swarmed his fleet. They moved in patterns that his computers could not predict. They communicated in ways his sensors could not track. For the first time in 300 years of military service, Admiral Vexitar was afraid. These humans were not like any enemy he had ever faced. They did not fight to conquer territory or capture resources. They fought to terrify their enemies, and they were succeeding. The bridge shook as another human attack hit his flagship. Warning lights flashed red. His crew worked frantically to "Repair damage, sir," the communications officer said. "We are receiving surrender demands from the humans." Surrender demands? Vextar could not believe it. "They want us to surrender?" "Yes, sir. Admiral Morrison says we have one chance to leave, peacefully. If we refuse, they will capture our entire fleet." Vextar looked at his tactical display again. Half his ships were damaged. 3 had been boarded by humans. His perfect fleet was falling apart. How had this happened? How had 3 primitive human ships caused so much destruction? The answer was simple but terrifying. Humans did not fight like civilized beings. They fought like wild animals backed into a corner, and that made them the most dangerous enemy in the galaxy. Captain Lisa Hayes sat in her command chair, watching the battle on her screens. Her green eyes followed the movements of both fleets. Her ship, the UES Determination, waited far from the main fight. She was waiting for the right time to start. Phase 2 of the human plan. "Captain," said Lieutenant Danny Clark, "Admiral Morrison's ships are getting badly hurt. We lost 60% of our forces." "I understand," Hayes said calmly. "What about the enemy?" 12 alien ships have major damage. 3 are about to break down completely." Hayes nodded. The aliens were winning the numbers game, but that was expected. The important thing was that Morrison had bought them time and showed the aliens how humans really fight. "Start Phase 2, Hayes ordered. "Everyone get ready for stealth mode." The UES Determination was different from other human ships. It was built to hide and sneak around, not fight directly. Special coating on the hull made it almost invisible to enemy sensors. This ship had another special feature. Every human on board could do multiple jobs. If half the crew died, the ship could still work because everyone knew how to do everything. "Stealth field is working perfectly," said Chief Engineer Kate Sullivan. "We are invisible and silent." Hayes smiled. They were like the old submarines from Earth's oceans, hunting much bigger prey from the shadows. "Target the enemy command ship," Hayes said. "We are going to cut off their leader." The Determination moved through the alien fleet like a ghost. The Empire's sensors were made to find big groups of normal warships. They could not see the small, hidden human vessel. As they got closer to Admiral Vexitar's flagship, Hayes thought about what humans had learned. For decades, they had been watching alien civilizations from far away, studying their technology and fighting methods. "Captain," called Lieutenant Commander Steve Martinez, "I found something interesting about the enemy flagship." Their command. "Signals use a rotating code, but there is a math pattern in it." Hayes looked surprised. "Can you break the code?" "Already working on it. Humans have an advantage here. Our math developed differently than theirs. We solve problems in ways they don't expect." This was another thing the aliens did not understand about humans. Most alien species developed similar math and science. But Earth was alone for so long that humans learned to think in unique ways. Code broken, Martinez announced. I can now listen to all their command communications. Excellent, what are they saying? Martinez listened for a moment, then smiled. Admiral Vextar is very confused about our tactics. He has never seen anything like human fighting before. Hayes was not surprised. Human warfare had been shaped by thousands of years of fighting on one world, where resources were limited and creativity was needed to survive. Other species learned to fight during their expansion into space, when they had unlimited resources. Weapons ready? Hayes asked. All systems ready, said Lieutenant Commander Paul Rodriguez. But Captain, our weapons cannot break through their shields. They don't need to, Hayes said. Target their communication equipment. We are not trying to destroy the ship. We want to cut it off from the fleet. The Determination's weapons were built for precision, not power. Instead of huge energy cannons, the ship had many small beam weapons that could hit specific targets with perfect accuracy. Firing, Rodriguez announced. Invisible beams shot out from the stealth ship, hitting the flagship's communication systems. One by one, the communication arrays went dark. Admiral Vextar was now cut off from his fleet. Now hit their sensor equipment, Hayes ordered. Let's make them blind and deaf. As the alien flagship lost its ability to see and communicate, chaos spread through the Imperial fleet. Without clear orders from their admiral, individual ship captains started making their own decisions. Some kept attacking the remaining human ships while others tried to defend themselves. The confusion gave the surviving human fighters new chances. Commander Jackson, still stuck to the side of an enemy ship, used the chaos to break through the armor and lead his team inside. Captain, Martinez reported, I'm listening to communications from inside the boarded ship. The humans are using psychological warfare. Explain. They are not just fighting the alien crew. They are scaring them. They are making scary noises, leaving frightening messages, and using the ship's own systems to create an atmosphere of horror. Hayes nodded with approval. Humans had learned long ago that breaking an enemy's will to fight was often better than just killing them. Fear could spread through an organization like a disease, making combat effectiveness drop across entire units. Captain, called Chief Sullivan from engineering, the enemy flagship's power is acting strange. Their main reactor is having problems. Sabotage? Hayes asked. Maybe, but I think it's something else. Our attacks on their external systems might have caused a chain reaction. Their power grid is not as strong as it should be. Hayes smiled. This was another advantage of humanity's difficult history. Earth's technology developed through constant war and limited resources, creating designs that were tough and reliable. Alien technology developed during peaceful times, focusing on efficiency instead of durability. All weapons, target their power distribution points, Hayes ordered. Let's see if we can cause a complete system failure. As the Determination continued its precise strikes against the flagship, the Imperial fleet's formation began to fall apart. Ships started moving out of position as their commanders struggled to understand what was happening. On the bridge of his damaged flagship, Admiral Vextar stared at displays showing impossible readings. His sensors detected no enemy ships nearby, yet his ship was systematically losing power and functionality. Sir, his tactical officer reported, I'm getting reports from across the fleet. Ships are reporting system failures, communication problems, and what can only be called supernatural events. Supernatural? Vextar demanded. The crew of Ship 7 says their security cameras show empty hallways, but they can hear human voices singing death songs through the air vents. Ship 12 says their computers are showing messages in human writing that say, "You should have listened to our warning." Vextar felt fear run down his spine. In 300 years of military service, he had never faced an enemy that fought like this. The humans were not just trying to win a battle, they were trying to break the minds of his entire fleet. What about the boarding operation on Ship 3? He asked. No contact for 20 minutes, sir. The last message said the humans had accessed the ship's air system and were pumping mind-altering chemicals through the ventilation. As Vextar processed this information, he began to realize the Empire had made a huge mistake. They had judged human military power based on normal measures like ship numbers, weapon strength, and shield power. But humans were not fighting a normal war. They were fighting a war of terror. The humans were inside his ships, in his computers, in his crew's minds. They were not conquering territory or capturing resources. They were destroying the very foundation of what made his fleet work. Fear was spreading faster than any weapon could fire. His soldiers were becoming afraid to fight, afraid to think, afraid to continue. Admiral Vextar was beginning to understand that humans were not just another species to conquer. They were something far more dangerous than he had ever imagined. Commander Ryan Clark stood inside the captured alien ship, breathing air through his combat suit. Behind him, his team of 12 Marines had taken control of the enemy vessel's important systems. But the real victory was not capturing the ship. The real victory was the terror in the alien prisoner's eyes. "Sir," said Sergeant Carol White through the radio, "we control the bridge and engine room. Enemy dead, 47. Our dead, 0. Clark nodded. He was not surprised by the numbers. The alien crew was trained for space battles, not close fighting inside ships. Humans had spent centuries learning how to fight in small spaces. "What about the prisoners?" Clark asked. 63 survivors, sir. They are very scared." Clark understood why White sounded hesitant. The alien survivors were not just scared, they were terrified. During the attack, Clark's team had used tactics designed to create maximum fear. They had moved through the ship like ghosts, appearing and disappearing through air vents and maintenance tunnels that the aliens did not know existed. They had used the ship's own speakers to broadcast human war cries in languages the aliens could not understand. Most importantly, they had shown that they did not care about their own safety. "Bring the senior officers to the bridge," Clark ordered. Time for them to send a message to their fleet. As his team brought the alien prisoners forward, Clark thought about what human scientists had learned about this species. Like most alien civilizations, these creatures had stopped being warlike millions of years ago. They conquered through better technology, not through personal fighting skill. They had never met a species that still carried the mental scars of constant warfare. The senior alien officer was brought before Clark. The creature's shell-like skin showed stress patterns that human scientists had learned meant extreme fear. "Sub-Commander," Clark said in broken but understandable alien language, "you are going to call your fleet and give them a message. I will not betray the Empire." The alien replied, but his voice shook with fear. Clark smiled. He had learned that human facial expressions scared most alien species. Human faces had evolved to show complex emotions, making them unnaturally expressive compared to other races. "I'm not asking you to betray anyone," Clark said. "I'm asking you to save lives. Your lives." He pointed to the bridge's main screen, which showed information about the ongoing battle. The alien fleet was confused, with several ships showing serious damage and others apparently having system failures. "Your admiral made a mistake," Clark continued. "He thought humans fight like everyone else in the galaxy. We don't." Clark turned on a recording device. This recording would eventually spread across the galaxy, making humanity's reputation known far beyond this battle. "Tell me, Sub-Commander, what did your species fight about before you traveled to the stars?" The alien seemed confused by the question. "We had disputes over breeding areas and resources, but these were solved through discussion and economic deals. No wars?" "Wars? You mean organized violence between large groups?" "No, such behavior was removed from our society over 2 million years ago." Clark nodded. This confirmed what human social scientists had suspected about galactic civilization. Most species had evolved beyond warfare before they reached space, leading to a galactic culture that was peaceful despite having vast military forces. Humanity was different. "Sub-Commander, humans have been at war for our entire recorded history. We have fought over resources, territory, beliefs, religion, and sometimes for no reason except that we had different skin colors. We have perfected the art of killing each other in every possible environment and situation." He paused to let this information sink in. "When we finally reached space, we brought all of that experience with us. Every human ship is crewed by descendants of warriors. Every human soldier has been trained in combat techniques that your species forgot before they learned to make fire. The aliens' stress patterns got worse. But your technology is weaker. Your numbers are smaller. Logic says you cannot win. Logic, Clark replied, assumes that all factors are known and that everyone behaves rationally. Humans don't behave rationally in combat. We behave effectively. He gestured to one of his Marines, Corporal Ben Davis. Davis demonstrated by taking apart an alien weapon using only a basic tool. In 30 seconds, he had reduced the complex weapon to spare parts. Your weapons are more advanced than ours, Clark explained, but they are also more complex, more ways to break, more ways to malfunction, more ways for a creative enemy to turn them against you. Through the ship's communication system, Clark could hear reports from other captured vessels. The pattern was the same everywhere. Human. Boarding parties had taken control of multiple alien ships using tactics the aliens had never seen and could not stop. "This is impossible," the alien whispered. "You are outnumbered 1,000 to 1 across the entire galaxy. Even if you win this battle, the Empire will send bigger fleets. Eventually, you will be overwhelmed." Clark's smile got wider. "Sub-Commander, do you know what humans call a battle where we are outnumbered 1,000 to 1? The alien shook his head. Tuesday. Clark activated the communication system and opened a channel to the alien fleet. "This is Commander Ryan Clark of the United Earth Defense Force speaking from the bridge of your captured ship. I have a message for Admiral Vextar and the alien empire." He paused for dramatic effect, knowing that the transmission was being recorded and would spread throughout galactic civilization. "Humanity offers the alien empire one chance to end this fight without more bloodshed. Remove your fleet from human space immediately. Spread the word to every species in the galaxy. Earth is not a target for conquest. We are not a species that can be easily defeated or enslaved." Clark gestured for the alien sub-commander to step forward. "Tell them," Clark ordered quietly. "Tell them what you have learned about humans." The alien looked directly into the camera, his stress patterns now visible to anyone familiar with his species' biology. "This is Sub-Commander Tixavara of the Imperial ship Conquest's Edge. I am speaking under threat, but I am not being forced to lie. The humans are not like any species we have encountered. They fight without fear of death. They use tactics that make no logical sense but are devastatingly effective. They turn our own technology against us with improvised changes that our engineers never thought possible." He paused, struggling with what he was saying. "They are individually weaker than us in every measurable way, but together they represent a threat that the Empire is not prepared to face. They do not fight to win territory or resources. They fight to terrify their enemies into giving up." The transmission ended, and Clark knew that within hours the recording would be moving throughout the galactic communication networks. Every species in the galaxy would learn that humanity was not a peaceful target for conquest. They would learn to fear the descendants of Earth's warriors. "Sir," Sergeant White reported over the radio, "we are getting communications from the other captured ships. Similar messages are being broadcast from each location." Clark nodded with satisfaction. This had been the true purpose of the boarding. Operations. Not to capture enemy ships, but to capture enemy communication equipment and use it to spread humanity's reputation across the galaxy. In the space of a single battle, humanity had transformed from an unknown primitive species into a legend that would be told in military schools throughout galactic civilization. The warning was spreading. When fighting humans, the only smart move was to run away. General Amanda Foster stood in the command center of Luna Base, watching holographic displays that showed the battle situation across 3 star systems. At 62, she was humanity's most experienced military leader, a woman who had spent her entire career preparing for the day when Earth would face a galactic threat. That day had finally come, and humanity was winning. "General," said Colonel Frank Miller, her chief of staff, "we are getting confirmation from all battle zones. The alien empire is pulling back from human space in all 3 systems." Foster nodded. She was not surprised by the news. The battle of Kepler 442b had been the opening move in a carefully planned campaign designed not to defeat the Empire militarily, but to convince them that defeating humanity would cost more than any victory could be worth. "How many casualties?" she asked. "Human losses are very small across all battles. Total dead, 47, total wounded, 112. Enemy losses." Miller paused, checking his numbers. "Enemy losses are hard to count. They lost 38 big ships to capture or destruction, but more importantly, they lost the will to keep fighting." Foster smiled grimly. Those numbers told the real story of humanity's war strategy. While other species measured military success by territory conquered or enemies killed, humans measured success by enemy morale destroyed. "What about our propaganda campaign?" she asked. "Extremely effective," said Colonel Janet Brooks from the intelligence section. "The recordings from Kepler 442b have spread throughout the galactic communication network. We are detecting increased military activity in over 200 star systems as various species strengthen their defenses against potential human expansion." This was exactly what Foster had hoped for. Humanity had no interest in galactic conquest. Earth's resources were enough for their needs, and humans preferred to focus on technology and culture, rather than territorial expansion. But they needed the galaxy to believe that humans were an aggressive, expansionist threat. Fear was humanity's greatest weapon, and Foster intended to use it to its fullest potential. "General," called Lieutenant Colonel Mark Thompson from the HFY Communications console, "we are receiving a priority transmission from Admiral Vextar. He's asking permission to negotiate a ceasefire." Foster raised an eyebrow. The alien commander was moving faster than intelligence predictions had suggested. Either he was smarter than average, or the psychological campaign had been more effective than expected. "Put him through," Foster ordered. The main holographic display changed to show Admiral Vextar's bridge. The alien commander looked exhausted, his normally perfect uniform showing signs of stress and fatigue. Behind him, Foster could see crew members working frantically at damaged control stations. "General Foster," Vextar began, his translated voice carrying notes of exhaustion and frustration. "I am Admiral Vextar of the Imperial Fleet. I formally request a stop to all fighting between the Empire and humanity." "Admiral," Foster replied neutrally, "you started this fight when you invaded human space. Why should we agree to a ceasefire now?" Vextar was silent for a long moment, clearly struggling with what he had to say next. "Because," he finally said, "continuing this conflict would be pointless. Your species fights in ways that make normal military victory impossible. Even if we eventually defeat your forces through sheer numbers, the cost would destabilize the Empire's military structure across multiple sectors." Foster kept her expression neutral, but inside she was pleased. Vextar had reached exactly the conclusion that humanity's strategic planners had intended. "Explain," she said simply. "Your forces don't fight to win battles," Vextar continued. "They fight to make victories too expensive to achieve. Every ship we capture requires extensive cleaning and psychological treatment for the crew. Every battle we win costs us more in morale and resources than we can afford to lose." He gestured to the damaged bridge around him. "More importantly, your psychological warfare capabilities represent a threat to galactic stability. The recordings of this battle are already spreading fear throughout the Empire's client species. If we continue this conflict, we risk triggering a galaxy-wide panic that could collapse interstellar civilization." Foster nodded slowly. This was the core of humanity's grand strategy, not to defeat the Galactic Empire militarily, but to make Earth so dangerous to attack that other species would actively work to prevent anyone from threatening humanity. "What terms are you proposing?" Foster asked. "Complete withdrawal of Imperial forces from human space," Vextar replied immediately. "Recognition of human territorial claims within a 50-light-year radius of Earth. Establishment of formal diplomatic relations between the Empire and humanity. And in return, humanity agrees to limit its expansion beyond the recognized territorial boundaries and to restrict the sharing of psychological warfare techniques with other species." Foster considered the offer. It was more generous than humanity's most optimistic predictions had suggested, but she understood why Vextar was being so accommodating. The Empire was not just trying to end a war. They were trying to contain a threat that could potentially destabilize their entire civilization. "I will need to consult with Earth's leadership," Foster said, "but those terms are acceptable in principle. However, I want one addition to the agreement. Name it. The Empire will actively discourage other species from attacking human space. If any civilization threatens Earth, the Empire will provide humanity with intelligence about their capabilities and intentions." Vextar's mandibles clicked nervously. "You are asking us to become your protectors." "I am asking you to become your own protectors," Foster corrected. "If another species attacks humanity and forces us to demonstrate our full capabilities, the psychological impact on galactic civilization will be far worse than what you have seen so far." The implications of Foster's statement hung in the air between them. Vextar realized that the humans were offering the Empire a choice: help keep humanity peaceful, or face the consequences of what would happen if humanity was forced into a full-scale galactic war. "Agreed," Vextar said finally. "I will begin drafting the formal treaty immediately." As the transmission ended, Foster turned to her staff. The expressions on their faces ranged from relief to amazement to professional satisfaction. "General," Colonel Miller said, "I have to ask, was this entire battle planned from the beginning?" Foster smiled. "Colonel, humanity has been preparing for contact with galactic civilization for over 50 years. We have studied every species. We could observe, analyze their military doctrines, and developed strategies specifically designed to exploit their psychological vulnerabilities." She gestured to the tactical displays around the command center. "The alien empire assumed that humans would fight like everyone else in the galaxy, logically, conventionally, with clear objectives and acceptable loss ratios. But humans don't fight wars to win territory or resources. We fight wars to ensure our survival, and we are willing to do whatever it takes to achieve that goal." Foster paused, looking at the star charts that showed human space surrounded by dozens of alien civilizations. The Empire made the mistake of thinking that advanced technology would guarantee victory against a primitive species. They did not understand that humans have been fighting advanced enemies for our entire history. Every generation of humans has faced opponents with superior numbers, better equipment, or tactical advantages. She pointed to a display showing historical human conflicts. "We defeated the Spanish Empire despite their technological superiority. We stopped Napoleon despite his tactical genius. We overcame the Axis powers despite being outnumbered and outgunned for years. In every case, we won because we were willing to fight longer, harder, and more creatively than our enemies expected." Colonel Brooks spoke up from the intelligence section. "General, what happens now? The galaxy knows about us and they know we are dangerous. Won't that eventually lead to a coalition forming against us?" Foster shook her head. "That is the beauty of our strategy, Colonel. Every species in the galaxy now has a choice. They can try to form a coalition against humanity, knowing that it will result in a devastating war that could destroy galactic civilization, or they can simply leave us alone and focus on their own affairs." She smiled confidently. "Most species will choose the second option, and the few that don't, well, they will serve as object lessons for everyone else." As Foster spoke, communication reports continued to flow in from across human space. The alien fleet was withdrawing in good order, their commanders apparently eager to put as much distance as possible between themselves and human territory. More importantly, long-range sensors were detecting similar withdrawal patterns in dozens of other star systems. Species that had been planning their own approaches to human space were reconsidering their intentions. The message was spreading throughout the galaxy. Humanity was not a target for conquest. They were a species to be avoided, respected, and left alone. In military academies across 100 worlds, instructors would soon be teaching new courses about human warfare. The lesson would be simple. When facing humans in combat, the only winning strategy was to run away. The descendants of Earth's warriors had secured their place in the galaxy not through conquest, but through the fear of what they might do if pushed too far.